Welcome to the Paradis channel. Today we explain Leviticus chapter 24 in a clear and simple way, step by step. So let's set the stage a bit. The Israelites, they're out in the wilderness, and the Tabernacle, that massive mobile sanctuary, has just been built and dedicated. And in this single chapter, just 23 verses, we get this incredibly vivid look at the daily operations of the ancient sanctuary, then a sudden super dramatic conflict, and finally, the establishment of some really profound legal principles. We're going to take our time, go verse by verse, and really unpack what is happening here in its simple, direct meaning.
Here is our roadmap for today. We've got 1. The sacred light. 2. The bread of presence. 3. A conflict in the camp. 4. Eye for an eye. 5. One law for all. And finally, 6. Life lessons. Let's jump right in.
Now, what's genuinely fascinating about chapter 24 is how it firmly grounds us in a very specific set of laws and real-world events. Instead of, sweeping historical overviews, we are zooming right in on the micro level of the Israelite camp in the wilderness. We're looking at the exact instructions given by the Lord to Moses and then seeing exactly how the community had to actually apply them in real time. It's this brilliant, tightly packed study of order, disruption, and ultimately justice.
Starting with section 1. The sacred light, covering verses 1 through 4.
So, verses 1 through 4 give us these direct, step-by-step instructions to keep the sacred lamps burning continually just outside the curtain of the testimony. First off, the Lord commands the Israelites to bring clear oil of pressed olives. Now, this isn't your standard everyday cooking oil. This requires the absolute highest quality and purity, which basically demanded effort from the entire community to supply the sanctuary. The fact that the command is for the people themselves to bring the oil, that creates a massive sense of collective responsibility. Second, Aaron the high priest is the one responsible for tending these lamps from evening until morning, continually. This is happening right outside the veil, that incredibly thick curtain separating the holy place from the most holy place, where the Ark of the Testimony sits. And finally, this is all arranged perfectly upon the pure gold lampstand, the Menorah. The text explicitly calls this a lasting ordinance for the generations to come, which really sets this beautiful tone of constant, unbroken devotion and meticulous order.
Moving on to section 2, the bread of presence, looking at verses 5 through 9.
The crucial point here is the sheer, strict precision of it all. We're talking exactly 12 loaves, baked with fine flour, presented with pure incense every single Sabbath, to be eaten only by the priests in a holy place. Let's break this down simply because it's actually pretty wild. You take fine flour and bake 12 cakes or loaves, but get this. Each loaf uses 2/10 of an ephah. To put that into perspective, that's roughly 4 to 5 quarts of flour per loaf. So these are absolutely massive loaves of bread. These 12 loaves, they represent the 12 tribes of Israel. They're placed on the table of pure gold before the Lord, in 2 perfectly neat rows of 6. And along each row, pure incense is placed as a memorial portion, representing the bread as an offering made by fire to the Lord. Every single Sabbath, without fail, fresh bread is set out. It's an everlasting covenant. And the old bread? Well, that belongs to Aaron and his sons, the priests. They have to eat it in a holy place because it's considered a most holy part of the offerings. So again, what do we see? Perfect peace, perfect order, and a system working exactly as it was designed to.
Which brings us to section 3, a conflict in the camp, found in verses 10 through 16.
Let's track how this narrative builds because it escalates fast. A violent fight breaks out in the camp, and it all culminates in this severe act where one of the men actually blasphemes the name of the Lord with a curse. The text tells us this man went out among the children of Israel, and a physical struggle happens between him and an Israelite man. In the heat of this violent fight, the man commits a truly grave verbal offense. He blasphemes the name, meaning the sacred, ineffable name of God, and curses. In ancient Israelite culture, this is literally the ultimate taboo. It's an offense that shakes the very foundation of their covenant. Talk about a massive shock to the system. The people immediately arrest him and bring him straight to Moses. But here's the interesting part. They don't punish him right away. They place him in custody. Why? Because the exact ruling for this totally unprecedented event isn't clear to them yet. They're basically hitting pause, waiting till the will of the Lord should be made clear to them.
Now, the text is very specific about the who here. It identifies the man by his mixed heritage and actually names his mother, Sholomith, to ground this whole event in literal history. This isn't just some parable or myth made up to teach a lesson. The text is giving us a precise genealogy. His father was Egyptian, but his mother was an Israelite named Sholomith. She was the daughter of Dibri from the tribe of Dan.
By giving us her name, her father's name, and her tribe, the text anchors this dramatic, terrible event right in the reality of the community. This was a real, tangible family dealing with a profound public crisis.
So, because there was no clear precedent, he's held in custody until God declares the verdict. And the verdict is this: those who heard the curse must lay hands on his head before the assembly carries out the ultimate punishment. And the Lord speaks directly to Moses and issues a really heavy, solemn ruling. The blasphemer has to be taken outside the camp, and that's critical, right? Because the camp itself must remain pure and holy, exactly like we saw in the first few verses. Then the witnesses, the actual people who heard the horrific curse with their own ears, they're commanded to physically lay their hands on his head. This isn't just symbolic. This physical act represents transferring the guilt squarely onto the offender, officially confirming his crime. Finally, the entire congregation is ordered to stone him. God then codifies this into law moving forward. Anyone, whether an alien or native-born, who blasphemes the name of the Lord must be put to death.
Next up is Section 4, Eye for an Eye, the principle of lex talionis. This verse brilliantly illustrates the famous lex talionis, establishing a literal, impartial rule of proportional justice rather than unchecked vengeance. Look, when we hear an eye for an eye, I know it can sound pretty brutal to our modern ears, but in the ancient world, this was actually a massive principle of restraint. Think about it. If someone knocks out your tooth, human nature usually dictates that you want to knock out all their teeth or do something even worse, right? This law commands that the punishment must exactly fit the crime, no more, no less. It's all about fair, proportional restitution. If you cause a fracture, you're liable for a fracture. If you cause an injury, you face that equivalent injury. It ensures that justice is perfectly balanced and really stops those endless blood feuds from spiraling completely out of control. To really clarify the text's view on the value of life, just note the strict comparison happening here. Killing an animal requires proportional financial restitution, but taking a human life, that requires a life in return. The verses explicitly say that if you take the life of someone's animal, let's say you accidentally kill a neighbor's ox or sheep, you must make it good. You pay for it. Life for life in the context of an animal literally just means property restitution. However, if anyone takes the life of a human being, the text is absolutely uncompromising. He must be put to death. You can't just pay a fine to get away with murder. This creates a massive, vital distinction between property and human life. Human life is sacred, it's made in the image of God, and it holds an ultimate value that cannot simply be bought off with wealth. This was actually a radical departure from a lot of other ancient Near Eastern laws where rich people could literally just pay a fine for murder and walk away.
That leads us nicely to Section 5, One Law for All, Equal Justice. This verse right here defines a critical, simple idea. The justice system must be entirely blind to a person's origins, applying the exact same rules to the foreigner as to the native citizen. Remember, the man who started this entire dramatic sequence was the son of an Egyptian father. God is making it crystal clear to Moses and the Israelites. You do not get to have a harsh law for the outsider and a lenient law for the insider. The text says you are to have one manner of law, as well for the stranger as for the homeborn, for I am the Lord your God. The basis for this equality isn't just about playing nice or social harmony. It's rooted in the very character of God himself. He is impartial, and therefore his law must be applied impartially across the board. No exceptions.
Bringing the historical narrative part to its close, the text simply reports that the Israelites faithfully carried out the sentence exactly as commanded. Verse 23 is brief, and it's quite somber. Moses relays all these new laws and the specific verdict to the children of Israel. They immediately take the man who cursed out of the camp and they stone him. The chapter concludes just by stating, the children of Israel did as the Lord commanded Moses. So the peaceful order of the sanctuary that we saw at the beginning, the order that was so violently disrupted by the fight and the blasphemy, has been decisively, though severely, restored through the rigorous application of the law.
And finally, Section 6, Life Lessons and Practical Takeaways from the chapter.
So looking beyond just the ancient context, we can extract some really powerful lessons here about the weight of our speech, the ethical baseline of fair restitution, and the absolute necessity of treating all people equally. First off, words matter. Seriously. The blasphemer wasn't punished for his private thoughts. He was punished because he vocalized a curse against the ultimate authority, which disrupted the entire community's foundation. It's a huge reminder that our words carry deep, deep weight and real consequence. Second, the whole concept of an eye for an eye teaches us the vital importance of fairness and proportionality. It shows us that our reactions to being wronged shouldn't be driven by this endless desire for vengeance, but rather by a need for balanced, fair restoration.
And third, perhaps the most timeless lesson of all, true justice cannot play favorites, ever. It has to apply equally to the native citizen and the newcomer alike.
So, I want to leave you with this question to chew on. How do we ensure our own systems today remain proportional and truly equal for everyone, regardless of their background? Thank you for learning with us. If this helped you understand the chapter better, like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter.